Hello, writer, and welcome back to my life. It's Writer Wednesday, the day where I give you my tips and advice on the art and the business of writing and tell you how I do what I do as an indie author. Today's question comes from Patron E.L. Drayton, who asks, what do you put on your back cover? In her question, E.L. Drayton talked about how she looked at many covers from many books that she had on her bookshelf, and they all seemed to sort of do something different, and what should you put there? And they all had blurbs, but it wasn't the same blurb that you could find on Amazon or Goodreads. What's the deal? Thank you for the question. Fortunately, this one is unusually easy to answer, which is that you can kind of do whatever you want. But let me see if I can give you some advice or insight on the various things you can do and why you might want to. The simple truth of the matter is that the copy on the back of your book to an independent author is just not that important. Like in the vast majority of cases, it kind of really doesn't matter because very, very few people are ever going to see the back copy, the back cover of your book unless they've already bought it. See, back cover copy was, of course, invented by traditional publishing, in which scenario it was designed to entice a reader in a bookstore who, saw maybe the front cover and was like, that looks cool, and then read the back to get an idea of what the book was about. Then, of course, traditional publishers started adding things like starred reviews, like if Publisher Weekly or the New York Times said something good about the book, they put that on there so that the reader would be like, oh, and hey, the New York Times likes it, I guess I'll buy it. But unless you happen to have your books in stores somehow, which most indies don't, or unless you're doing a book tour or like an appearance at a convention, nobody's gonna read the back of your book unless they've already bought it. That being said, you can totally just take your Amazon blurb or book description and stick it on the back of your book. It serves the purpose. It does very, very well. Why not? I have elected for a slightly different approach. Instead of putting a synopsis about the book, I will instead put a quote from the book. In other words, words that are actually said in the book. Although this is actually a terrible example because this is a proof copy of a book that has fake text that's not actually in here. Why did I choose to do this? Well, because when I originally formatted the copies of the Nightblade epic, I totally just aped the formatting of the Twilight books. And that's what they did. No other reason. And I kind of liked it. I liked having a quote on the back. I liked having something that was sort of intriguing and gave a promise of the world and the tone and the characters, and something that was significant enough in the book that after the reader read it, they would maybe glance at the back cover again and go, oh, now I see what that was talking about. That's another effect you can try to create on the book. And then, yes, I did stick on the back of some of the other books, things like #1 Amazon bestseller, some of my top reviews from some of my top reviewers. At one point, I'm sure I will have reviews from like huge prestigious book blogs or maybe even someplace like the New York Times, and then I will definitely stick those on there because 1, I want to get my books in stores, and 2, I will be doing live events. When you're just starting out, what is on the back of your print books really won't matter because, again, the only people who are going to see that are people who already bought the book. So you're not trying to sell them the book. If anything, you want to give them something cool or intriguing or just extra to make them feel a certain way about the book. And as you progress more and more and maybe do start appearing in bookstores and do start doing shows where people will actually look at your physical book before buying it, maybe include some more things, some social proof, some statistics or something like that. Just realize where back cover copy originally came from. It came from an industry that primarily sold its books through bookstores, and the back cover copy was a bookstore's version of an Amazon book description or book blurb. So whatever you write there is totally appropriate to go back on the book because that's just an adaptation of the same thing. Similarly for nonfiction, you can put a list of exactly what problems your book is going to solve or what information it is going to give to the reader if it's sort of a how-to or an instructional book. Or if it's what is referred to as a big idea nonfiction book, like most of Austin Kleon's work, you can hint around the big idea or talk about the scenario that led you, the author, to wondering about the big idea at all. And in other words, pose a question that your book promises to answer. But while you're doing all this, just keep in mind, almost nobody's ever going to see it unless they've already bought it, in which case you kind of don't care. Thank you so much for the question, E.L. Drayton. Good luck on formatting and getting your print books into production. I can't wait to see them when they're done, I kind of, for everybody else, I kind of know E.L. Drayton, aka Erica Drayton, and am excited to read her books. I hope the answer was helpful to you and to everybody else. If you're watching this video on my YouTube channel, you should know that my $5 patrons like Erica get these videos 2 weeks before they release to the general public, and they are also the only people who are allowed to request me to cover topics in these videos. So if that sounds interesting to you, maybe check out my Patreon right down there. And you can also see my last Writer Wednesday video right up there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, as always, to my patrons for their incredible support, and I will see you next Wednesday. Bye!